Good morning. Today is day 17 of the 30-day challenge with Sharita Leon. And on this morning's call, she spoke about vulnerability. I specifically enjoyed this call because this is something that I am presently dealing with, being in a relationship with my daughter's father. And I think the reason why I have such a problem with being vulnerable is due to past experiences. But something that triggered inside of me, or something that um, even after the call was over, that I constantly kept thinking about, was when she said living in the moment. And I remember even being in relationships with people where it didn't work. One thing that people admired about me is that when I went to the next relationship, I still continued to go on as if I've never been hurt. I still continue to give 100% and give my all. And I think that at times I did this because I felt like it was my fault that the previous relationship didn't work. Now, I'm not going to take all the blame because it takes two people. If somebody is cheating, that means it's not necessarily, or I don't feel like it's necessarily the other person's fault. But sometimes people put the blame on you. I remember being in a relationship in my prior years with my daughter's father. And I remember having a conversation about him cheating on me, and he immediately tried to put the blame on me. And I think that's why it didn't work and we had to separate and go our own ways, because at the end of the day, because I was a cheater, I know that you can't blame the other person. When you cheat, that means you're being selfish. That means that you might not be happy with your situation, but you're not going to work on making it better. You're just going to try to go satisfy that need that um that no, not even a need. You're going to go satisfy that want that presently takes over. So because he used to kind of blame me, we really didn't see eye to eye. It really didn't work out between us. We couldn't even be friends. But as we both growed and matured, and like you said, it's all about perception. Once you're able to see that you can't put the blame on anybody else for anything that you do. If you're unhappy, you take control of your unhappiness. And that's something that I had to learn, because it was so easy for me to say, oh, well, I cheated on such and such because he didn't do this anymore. He didn't fulfill that. But the thing is, if I felt fulfilled, there's no need for me to go out and cheat. Or if I truly love myself, I would love myself enough to say, you know what? This is the issue. I feel like you're not dedicating enough time, or we're not doing enough. That's taking the mature route. But instead, you kind of sneak around and you get that fulfillment somewhere else. That's not being grown. That's not being a player. But in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm doing big things. People are admiring me for having so many people on the side, or having people, doing things that I want them to do, or doing things that the person I'm in a relationship will not do or cannot do. Um, and that was just like an epiphany moment for me to learn that no, you're not happy. You're putting on it up front for people, because people that play games and people that have all these people on the side, they're not happy people. No matter what it may look like on the outside, you're not happy. And I wasn't happy. And I had to figure out what was wrong with myself. And once I did that, and it was an ongoing process, because sometimes you discover something and you know that it's there, but like Paul, I know to do right, but I still continue to do wrong. And sometimes because you're so used to cheating and you're comfortable with that, you revert right back to it. It's not until you put your foot down and stop. So I just completely went on a whole nother tangent about the vulnerability, but back to the what you said about living in that moment and really appreciating that moment. And it's so funny that you said that, because I talk about this one moment that my daughter's father and I had. And it's a crazy moment because at the time I was in a relationship with somebody else, but he had made me upset, and I had just called him venting, because at the end of the day, before we were ever in a relationship, before our daughter ever came around, we were friends. And even when I was away at college and we weren't together, I still felt able and comfortable to talk to him and tell him things that were going on, and even tell him about me being in other horrible relationships. But I remember this one night, um, I can't remember what the situation was, why I was so upset with the boyfriend at the time, but I remember calling my daughter's father, who wasn't my daughter's father at the time. And I remember us riding around, riding around, riding around, and then eventually we stopped and we went into this club together. And when we walked in the club, it was a handful of people, but they were playing like some music we were just not accustomed to. So one of the bartenders said, "Well, downstairs we have a hip hop room and the DJ's really good," and really sold us on going downstairs. And it was still free. So we walked downstairs and we just bust out in laughter because we were the only ones in the club. So we go downstairs, we get us a drink, and we were laughing. We're saying, like, we're not going to stay here because we're the only ones in the club. But we ended up dancing like for the next 2 hours to basically to the party was over. We danced and we had such a good time. And anybody that knows my daughter's father knows he's not a dancer. Like when he goes to the club, he sits down, he has his drinks, he'll talk to a lot of people, but you just don't see him dancing or on the dance floor. But that night we danced, and we had such a good time, and we laughed and we sung the songs and we rapped. And I remember taking his New York Yankee hat and putting it on my head and acting like I was Jay-Z. I mean, it was just a fun night. After we left, we went and got pizza. And then we ended the night just sitting on his porch, on his steps, just talking and laughing, just about different things that were going on in life. And that was like the greatest moment for me. And every time I think of you know, anything that deals with my daughter's father, and I get upset, or I don't like something, I go back to that time, that moment where we actually enjoyed each other's company. And that's what keeps me holding on, because I know that in spite of everything that goes on, in spite of what people might see, and again, you talked about perception. People only see what they want to see. And sometimes, him and I both, we've done things, and no, it didn't look good. In our mind, we felt like we were doing the right thing, but only we know why we did that. And there was a method to our madness. But when you're on the outside looking in, or somebody's only constantly harping on the negative, that's what people are going to see. But if they have a different perception, if they understand and step back and actually have to experience some of these situations for themselves, if opportunity allow them to experience the situation for themselves, they too would react the same way. I know, because I have a few friends that used to say things, and then when they got into that same situation, they act worse than me, or they act worse than him. So I agree with living in that moment, and I just need to take that and actually live in the moment more, because it's sad that that moment happened over 8 years ago. My daughter is 7 years old, so that moment happened over 8 years ago. And there are other good moments that we have, but that one just stands out to me because we both enjoyed each other's company and nothing else mattered. Like the song by Lauryn Hill, nothing else matters. But this morning's call just opened up my mind, and it just let me know that if I want better, or if I want something different, I have to do something different. So that means opening up, being vulnerable, and it may work, it may not work, but I'll never know if I keep this wall up. So thank you for helping me start my day on the right foot. Have a blessed day, and I'll be looking forward to your call on tomorrow. God bless.